Hello and welcome. In today's exciting episode, I take this adorably weird fabric and make this lovely vintage style dress.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So I had a box or two of unfinished projects and I've been slowly and surely making my way through them and making them up. So these are some of the earlier ones that I did. They were pretty simple. All the pieces were there and all I had to do was just sew them up. And those ones got done pretty quickly. But now I'm at the point where I've got to be a little bit creative. So today's dress,
the mustard one with moths, it's like that, the 1939 one. But when I did the moth one, I had more fabric. So this one, the little space monsters, is a little bit more tricky. So I do have the skirt already made, but I want to rip that one of the seams and insert another third panel or for two more panels, depending. And the front and back of the bodice, I have to cut new ones. And to do that, I have to piece together big enough bits to be able to do that. So, yeah. Ugh. And I do have some spare fabric, but I'm not sure. I'm measuring it now. Okay, there is just exactly enough to do a third panel of the skirt. Oh, that's surprisingly good because it did not look like there would be enough. So I got out this other fabric. It's actually rayon. And I was thinking maybe I'll do the two panels of the original skirt plus two panels of the rayon. Like the front and back panels, center front and center back panels would be the original fabric. And the two side panels would be this rayon fabric in similar colors. I thought that would be interesting. I mean, I do know that rayon, when it's cut on the bias, falls a lot more than cotton. So that's a negative. But still, it would be interesting. But I don't know. It was just easier to cut out the third piece. I kind of want it to be it would be nice as one fabric. It would have been interesting to do it the other way. But yeah, so now I have to unpick this seam. Thank goodness I didn't hand finish this seam. It's just sewn. So that's what I'll be doing next with the skirt. Okay, let's move on to the bodice. The front and back bodice of the original, I cut them in half, like very neatly cut a cut line in the half, so I can add an insert piece to make it big enough to cut out the new bodice. And because it's sort of space monsters, I thought maybe cut it on an angle and make it a little more interesting. So I've done that, and now I've pinned them into place. Next thing to do is to machine sew them all together, then I'll press them, and I've also cut out the lining already. So I will machine sew these, press them, and I will be back. Okay, I've machine sewed and pressed the inserts for the bodice. So now they're big enough to actually cut the front and the back. They're very cute. And this is what it looks like from the front. You can't really see where the insert is. You can if you look, but I don't know, it blends in quite well. But I also like that I did the lines that way rather than just two straight lines. So now it is time to cut out the front and the back bodice. To get them even, I just put a pin through the first seam into the second seam. And that way I'm getting the true center, and I do the same at the top. And that way you know that your insert panel is centered. So there we go. I've cut out my front and my back. Now it is time, this fabric is so darn cute. Now it's time to sew them together. So you just sew them at the shoulders and the sides, because this is one with sleeves. And then you insert the lining and sew them together at the neckline. Then you clip the curves and then you turn it out, and you press the seams into the right spot or just put pins in them. And then the next thing is the sleeves. Now, I've already pre-made these sleeves. They're the Vogue 1939 pattern one. And they've got this cute box pleat at the top. All you do, they're quite simple. You just sew the side seam and then sew on the, there's a pleat too. And you just have to sew the pleat in. and then you keep the pleat in place by sewing the facing on or the inside cuff. There's also a couple of pleats at the top, but I do them as I pin. I don't machine sew them in. If you're making a larger size dress, then you might want to sew the pleats in. But on the like smaller sizes, so 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, yeah, they're just too small and fiddly. I wouldn't recommend it. I just pin them in place. So I pinned them in and then I sewed them, and they're so cute. Look at the little boxiness of this pleat. Isn't it adorable? I absolutely love them. I love this. It reminds me of, I was watching the that fashion documentary film about the first Monday in May, the Met Gala, and it's about the Chinese exhibition, and there was a whole room of blue and white dresses, and yeah, I know this is cream, but it just reminds me of that. Anyway, back to the dress. The bodice is all done. So now it is time to get the skirt out and work on that. So first of all, I sewed all the panels together and just sort of pinned them to get in place and then machine sewed them. Not exactly difficult, but it's just such a beautiful skirt. I love this fabric. I don't know what it is, but it's just adorable. I think it's a mix of whimsy and classic. And so anyway, now it is time to pin the skirt to the bodice. And I just pin, because there's 3 panels, so there's 3 seams. So one is going to be center front and the other 2 are going to be in the back. I kind of meant it was either that or have a center back one. So yeah, I decided on center front but hidden in a pleat, in a box pleat. So once the skirt was pinned to the bodice and I liked how it was pinned, then I machine sewed, then I reinforced it so it's sewn twice. Next step is to turn the whole thing absolutely inside out and pull down the lining and just hand stitch that over all the raw seams so that they're covered. And there we are. It is done. It is so cute. I still have to hand stitch the inside cuffs of the sleeves and do the hem, but this is so adorable. This vintage style is perfect fit for this fabric. And here she is. What an adorable dress. I put the Burberry plaid bow on it, and because I didn't really have any belts or sashes that matched. And oh my goodness, this is adorable. So I've got a bow on there and I've got the 1950s net petticoat underneath. Oh, this is even cuter than I hoped it would be. And I just love those box pleats on the sleeve. This is just such an adorable pattern. And you can sort of see the insert. It adds a little interest, but it's such a simple dress. It's beautiful. But it's, yeah, you can see what I mean about it being blue and white. Like from far away, it sort of looks like blue and white. I definitely recommend that fashion documentary if you haven't seen it before. It hasn't aged well because it's about China and they make some kind of super racist remarks in passing. But yeah, apart from that, it's a good look at what the Met Gala is and what it does. And so this is my dress and this is it from the side, and I'm going to show it to you from the back as well. It is darling. It's very Audrey Hepburn in its stance, if you get what I mean. And the back has that insert panel as well. You can sort of see it if you're looking for it. It adds a little bit of interest. I don't think it detracts from the dress at all though. So I took the petticoat out, and this is it just with the belt around the waist, and it still looks perfectly vintage and lovely. It's so pretty. It's a bit baggy once you take the belt off, but like this, it's just chef's kiss. I absolutely love it. And I love the weirdness of the print with such a classic silhouette. So here it is without the belt or sash or bow, whatever. It is, it kind of looks a little bit like nightgown or pajamas or something. But as soon as you put a belt on and have a vintage handbag, it just looks perfect.
but it's also fine to wear around the house. And yeah, it's lovely. I'm so glad I finally made this one up, because I cut this out in maybe October, November last year, ages and ages ago. And yeah, I've been meaning to get to it, but I just was sort of dreading it. And yeah, it's lovely. I'm so glad it's made. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode and were maybe inspired to rifle around in your unfinished projects and finish something. Anyway, speaking of, I am going to go finish a Chanel style tweed jacket.